This is the Game Changers Experience. Deep dive conversations with leading business disruptors, Olympic athletes, celebrities, entrepreneurs, and influencers from around the world. This show will teach you insights about the winning principles in mindset, productivity, marketing, branding, entrepreneurship, business strategy, and more. Hosted by productivity authority, business strategist, former elite athlete, author, and public speaker, Adam Strong.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Game Changers Experience with myself, Adam Strong. Today, we have a special person on the show today. And I've never actually met anyone which has the same surname as me, which is kind of crazy. I love that. But we have the amazing Kate Strong in the studio on the show today. I'm so super excited about our conversation and where it leads. Interestingly enough, we are not related, by the way, but we'll talk about that in a second. Who is Kate? Kate is a world triathlon champion. She's a 10x speaker, philanthropist, investor, entrepreneur, amongst many other things as well. Kate, welcome to the show.
My pleasure, Adam. Thanks so much for inviting me.
Awesome. Listen, I was going to actually ask you a really interesting question because have you ever kind of looked into the whole kind of ancestry.com and kind of look where the Strong family potentially, I mean, it would be really scary if we were kind of related, right?
Yeah, there's a possibility we might be if we look further back, but we don't have children, so it's not too much of a problem.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to go onto an ancestry.com and just see what the family tree looks like. And you never know, down the bloodline, there might be some sort of relationship.
There might well be. I mean, my family, we've got common law rights from winning a certain battle. So in a place in Wales called, I can't even remember what it's called now, but in a place in Wales, we're allowed to keep our animals and livestock. So that might be some sort of train you want to follow for my family.
Interesting. So good to have you on the show today, by the way. Really super excited about our interview. Was going to say, you have a really interesting story, but for the benefit of the audience and for our listeners and stuff like that, because I know your story, would you mind just filling in with the story? Because I've got some really, we're going to see where this takes us because I'm excited.
Okay, so how far back do you want me to go?
I want you to go back to when you decided to move to Australia. Okay,
so that was after I'd graduated from university and had just finished traveling the world for a year. And I think in all of that, I realized I was living quite a normal life. I was living a vanilla life. I was living that tick box of society. I'd just got a degree. I'd just been traveling. The next stages were buy a house, get a boyfriend, start talking about marriage, buy a dog, and wait till retirement. And I really didn't want to. I really wanted to sort of carve my own path. So my partner at the time and he was Welsh too. We decided to emigrate to Australia and start an entrepreneurial lifestyle. So he did get a job, and I stepped into hospitality. I used to work in aerospace engineering. I decided against that. I'm not really too good following, male, pale and stale rules. So decided to create my own business, and hospitality was a natural progression. And I still managed to forget myself. I still managed to lose myself in this huge expectation of society of living when I have more time, then I can go to the gym more. When I've got more money, then I can actually do something for myself. So, days bled into months and years. And 7 years later, after living in Australia, I found myself almost marrying this guy. And it turned into quite a toxic and controlling relationship, to the point where he had an app on his phone where he could see if I'd left the house, and he'd call me to say, "Why are you going? Where are you going?" And so, I was sort of trapped in this lifestyle where I wasn't even on my own list anymore. I was doing everything for my partner, everything for the expectation of my parents and my work. And fortuitously or not, my partner broke up with me 6 days before our wedding. And he left me with not just sort of a big doubt of who I am and my self-worth, but also with quite a large debt. So he walked out on all our obligations. So I was left with pretty much $1 million debt and a business to run single-handedly. And I struggled. I'm very open in sharing. I took the edge off life by drinking a lot. It was easier for me at night to lose myself in a bottle or a glass of wine, usually a bottle, than to actually deal with my events and step out of that victim mindset of it's not me. What am I supposed to do? I can't do anything. And one day I just said, today's the youngest I'll ever be. Today will be the best day in my life to start something. That when I have more money, it's never going to happen. There will never be the right time to start. I have to start today as if now is the time I've got. And so I delved back into my memories and decided to take up triathlon. That was something for me to reclaim a little bit of selfishness in my life, to put me at least on the list. And so I dusted off my trainers and started running, which was a huge shock to my body and my system because I hadn't done it for 7 years. I talked about being fit and healthy, but never actually did the work. It's usually after a glass of wine that I suddenly sprouted out with all the activities I used to do when I was young. But, miles or minutes turned into hours, and eventually I could start running more effectively and strive towards being a triathlete that I wanted to be. And something else that I really honed in on is I didn't know my own potential. I'd been living as if I'd capped or put that glass ceiling on my life for so long. I just didn't want to stop myself striving to be my best anymore. So where did I need to aim? In order to be my best, I had to aim to be the best. So that's when I came out with a sentence that shocked my friends, which was, never done a triathlon before, but wouldn't it be great to be a world champion? Didn't know what that meant. But I knew that if I aimed for number one, I'd find my natural level, be that 100th, be that 10th, or even first. But I wasn't going to stop myself finding out how great I could be in this world. So that's what I strove to.
Why triathlon, just out of curiosity? I mean, was it something that you kind of had an interest when you were younger?
When I was traveling around the world, so after graduating, I went mostly to Latin America. I met an American girl whose name was mine, actually. It was Katie. And her and I just grabbed our rucksacks one day and hiked up overnight to the highest peak in Central America, which was a volcano. And we slept under a tree, freezing our asses off, sleeping, like hugging next to each other, trying to stay warm. We put our socks on our hands because we'd forgotten our gloves. We were the most underprepared adventurers in the world. But sitting on top of that volcano, watching the sunrise over everything beneath us, Katie said, after this, I'm going to New Zealand and I'm going to become an Ironman. Now, I'd never heard of Ironman before, but hearing what that entailed, I immediately said, that's impossible. No human, least of all a female, could swim 2.4 miles, then cycle 112 miles, then run a marathon. Like, that is insane. But fast forward, 10, 15 years after my breakup, I needed a bit of insanity in my life. I needed to believe the impossible was actually possible, or at least I had the, freedom to choose to strive for it. I might not get there, but I at least had the capability to try. So I think that seed was planted a long time ago. And because of my resistance back then, I knew I needed to lean into the thing that scared me the most. So that's where triathlon came from.
It's interesting. You've taken basically your pain, right, and turned it into kind of an ambition, I guess, in a way, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we've all got stories of those cliff edge moments when they either make us or break us. And it doesn't have to be like being dumped at the altar or getting that letter from the doctor about something that's almost life altering. We can create and generate them in moments of normality and average. So that's my mission nowadays, isn't to wait for that toxic relationship to have to fight out of it, or millions of dollars of debt to strive for wealth back in my life. I generate it every moment to say, what can I do better today and enjoy the journey as well, so I don't sacrifice the moments.
Good perspective. I wanted to ask you, actually, what was, in terms of your struggle, right? I mean, you mentioned it a little bit in your conversation, right? But why did you struggle so much to try to fit in with society? Because I know that when I read your story, I was like, oh, that's really, really interesting. But why did you struggle so much? It was kind of like this kind of pull and two from in relationships and kind of what you mentioned about your parents and what you did for your fiance and stuff. But I'd love to know more about that.
Yeah. I think everything's obviously from my point of view. I've never lived anyone else's life. So from a very early age, I've always felt a little bit of an outsider.
Mm.
Even if I was in a certain group, I never got the joke quick enough, or I didn't feel that I was part of the fold. So I think because of that, I strove harder to fit in. I didn't want my parents to worry about me. So I think it was trying to make them know that their little girl was happy, so they didn't have to worry anymore. And I think I felt, as being the eldest, I just self-imposed on myself, but I created a big sense of, guilt on myself and obligation, that I needed to fit a certain model to prove that it was possible, so they could be proud of me, whatever that means.
Where did that perception come from? Did it come from anywhere at all?
Well, I think 99% of all our beliefs are created within the first 5 years of our life. So I think it was from a very inconsequential moment where, I think when I was 2, if we want to go back that far, I stubbed my toe and my father didn't hug me. So in that moment, I made the decision I wasn't important. So from then on, I was trying to prove to my family that I was important and livable to them. So it could have been that event actually happened, but it could have been as inconsequential as that. So again, we don't need that drama to create, those limiting beliefs that in the current moment, it was to protect us, but moving forward is actually holding me back. So it's about upgrading them consistently and ongoingly.
Interestingly enough, you picked up a really good point there, which is where society these days, they, I suppose, a trauma or maybe a childhood moment like you just described exactly, which then inhibits your belief system, it inhibits your life success, whatever it might be. But there's so many people in society that has that, and they still carry that baggage around with them, right, on a daily basis, which is crazy. Did you ever feel that you didn't want to be judged as well?
Yeah, I had, and I actually work with spiritual guides as well, because even though I'm an engineer, I make sure I embrace me as a complete package.
Mm-hmm.
I had an unhealthy belief that if I stood out from the crowd, I would be punished in some way. So, maybe not killed, but to the point of my fear was irrational. So even though I wanted to carve my own identity, I was also carrying that unconscious fear that if I did stand out and be the true Kate Strong, I would be judged, ridiculed, condemned, or ostracized in some way, and rejected. So I was always between two worlds of being authentically me and being, comfortable enough so people didn't notice me. And that's just not a way to live.
I wonder if that's the same kind of thought patterns that society feels these days, because I know that in society we're and you're probably the same as we were brought up in the whole kind of same arena, if you like. When your parents they say to you, Kate, go to school, get good grades, go to college, university, get a good job, settle down with your husband, like you just kind of said it, right? And for me, it's kind of a me creator life. It's this kind of, why should I be the same as everybody else? Like keeping up with the Joneses. I hate that. I hate that, that kind of keeping up with the Joneses. Oh, who's got the better car? Who's got the flashier house, right? It's just like, guys, seriously. I mean, it just comes from a place of ego from my perspective. And I just don't have time for people like that. I don't know about you, but I just don't have time for people like that. And it's just, I guess you have to really, like, for you just kind of, it's fascinating. Your pain point has made you open your eyes to a new world, so I love that. I think that's fantastic. Sorry, I've just gone off on a tangent there, but anyway, it's all good. Did you ever, actually going back to that kind of point around the Joneses, did you ever feel like you wanted to be part of the Joneses, or was there always that struggle as well?
I think I fitted into it quite well. Once I committed to being in that lifestyle, especially when I was with my fiance, I suppose, my ex, we definitely played that role. And when I say played it, at some point we start believing our own lies. So even though at the beginning I might have done it as a joke, by the end of it, I really did want that bigger house. I really did want to be, wearing the smartest clothes and be going to the fancy restaurants once they were open. So I think we've got to be very mindful and be on our A game all the time with our language. Doesn't mean we have to take it seriously. It can be fun. But if we want to be curious about life, can we be curious about life at our breakfast or when we're brushing our teeth? Not just when we have to at work. So it's about, I did fall into that Joneses, keeping up with the appearances. And I think that's what, had me say yes to getting married, had me planning, the biggest, best wedding ever, which was such a cliche, So I think I definitely played that role, and I played it a little too well. But, thank goodness something within life prevented it from happening further down the line, which could have hurt us even more.
The universe had better plans for you, Kate. I'm a big believer of that, actually. I don't know about you, but I think my belief is that things happen for a reason. Yeah. Do you ever have that?
Yeah, that's a beautiful belief as well to have. Yeah.
I really do believe that. And, the whole, just the way the world is right now, I believe it was all set up. Right. It was all part of the plan type of thing, not that I'm a kind of a religious type of thing, guru, I believe in God type of thing. I have my own kind of belief systems, but that was just kind of a little thing there anyway. So anyway, talk to us about, because I want to go back to success and things like that. What do you find are some of the most common excuses for society in not fulfilling their potential?
Wow. Well, the biggest cliche is not enough time or money insert your excuse here. And it's definitely a root of scarcity. So we believe that we need more than we have. And I think if a lot of people just spent less time talking about what they couldn't do and why, and just did it, they'd be pleasantly surprised. Just as a note, to become a world champion, I did it on a bike that I bought on eBay for $500. So you don't need sponsors. You don't need, thousands of followers on Instagram. You don't need anything but to cycle. So, that's pretty much the idea. But that's one of the biggest excuses I hear is just scarcity of time and money.
One of the things that drives me insane, I don't know about you, and especially when you do speaking and stuff, right? It drives me completely insane, right? You get the talkers, right? They talk, but they don't do. And this is the thing, guys, if you're listening to the Game Changers Experience, the reason why it's called Game Changers Experience is to give you the insights and the tools and the tactics to be able to actually get off your ass and do something and move forward and take action. When you was in Australia, because I know that you ran a hospitality business, which you mentioned, right? And you became a triathlete as well. And I don't know if that was a full-time thing or not. Yes. Okay, so you're a full-time triathlete as well as run a full-time business. And this is actually for me more than anything else. How did you find the time or the balance between wanting to achieve something in your triathlete journey as well as run a successful business?
Good question. It takes time to build up to it. So I will explain to you the usual week I spent, knowing that I also started usually waking up at 5 minutes before I worked with a hangover. So I built it up over a period of time. I used to wake up at 4 a.m. I had no heating in my house, so the wood I'd already chopped the night before ready to light my fire. I'd then go out for a 2-hour run, be home at 6:05, grab a 5-minute shower, make my breakfast, restoke my fire, and then start work at 7:30. Okay. I would finish work till 11 in the morning. I would then take 1 hour to siesta, and then 2-hour training and back to work till 8 p.m. at night, where I would then do another 2-hour training till 10 p.m. at night. But my food had already been prepared the weekends before because everything was batch cooked. So I got immensely effective at prioritization and honoring my word. If I said I was up at 4, it wasn't snooze till 4:10, it was up at 4, because that 10 minutes would have that knock-on or domino effect for the rest of my week. So it was just do what I said, plan it well, remove the emotion. We never feel like getting up at 4, so just be used to that feeling of not wanting to and just do it.
You know what I admire about you is your habit of self-discipline, and I think that's one thing that a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners that are listening in right now is that they want to become more effective. Everyone wants to become more effective and wants to become more productive, right? But they haven't mastered the habit of self-discipline. Do you have any tips for improving self-discipline?
Start small. Start in your bedroom. Do you make your bed? Do you fold your socks? Do you put your socks in partners, sort of thing? Simple things like that. And I always ask, like, where else can I do this? Am I repeating myself? Do I talk about opening my emails, then read my emails, then reply to my emails? Could I just do it in one sitting? So create batches, if at all. Remove distractions. So another tip after, starting small would be, is your phone always next to you, looking at the next message that comes in? Are your text messages running your time, or are you running the text messages? So my phone's always on silent, so I can choose to answer, but I don't, whilst I'm doing project A, keep checking project B, C, and D. And, this is coming from a female who supposedly is greater at multitasking than the other gender. We can't. Do one thing, complete it, then do a second thing and complete it. Trying to juggle 5 balls is always harder than juggling one, even if we're a great juggler. So I suppose those are my 3 tips if I want to start discipline.
Very good. They were excellent tips. I think what I love about those is that they were really simple, and and that's something that you can implement into your business and in your life, guys. It's really, really important. I know that you are when you do a lot of speaking with a lot of companies and things like that, you're also a big goal setter, which I love, by the way. But in terms of, I know that a lot of people struggle to set goals and achieve goals and things like that. Is there a particular structure that you follow in terms of, like, okay, so if I do it this way, I know that I'm going to achieve X, or it's going to give me result Y type of thing? Is there a particular structure that you maybe use, or whatever it is, or any tips there?
My basic structure is basically aim for what I want. I never compromise my goal. So if I want to run a marathon, I aim for a marathon. I don't aim for half. If I want to open a 6-figure business, my goal is 6-figure business, not 5 figures. If I want 5, you get the point. So never compromise your goal, and then leave the journey freestyle. So don't plan the hows. Have your goal in stone and your journey in sand. Life will give you, as you said, the universe will collide to give you what you need. And you never know, it might be better than what you could have planned anyway.
I love that. I love the fact that you completely disrupted the game here, because, what I mean by that is, you said and there was one word you used there, right? Which was improvise and see where it takes you. I love that. That's great. That's fantastic. I think that's great. Because because a lot of people, especially left brain people, especially the analytical people, right? New left brainers are hearing me right now, and you're probably analyzing and seeing what I'm doing and maybe looking up certain words or whatever it might be. What I love about you is that, there is no box, right? The box is thrown away type of thing. And it's kind of, just do it, just do it and improvise, just go with the flow. And I love that. And I bet a lot of left brainers right now are probably panicking right now. I'm like, oh my God, the strategy. Oh my God.
Can I put the strategy into why I do that? Because
sure.
I'm a bit of both.
Fascinated. Yeah, absolutely.
So if I do everything, if I operate from a premise of what I know, I can only achieve what I've already achieved, because it's coming from the knowledge of already existing in my consciousness. In order to achieve a goal I've never done before, I have to operate in that unknown space. But if I'm planning it from my space of knowledge, I'll never be able to achieve something I've not achieved before. There's a bit of a brain mess, but if I always do what I've always done, I'll always get what I've always got. In order to have something I've never had before, I have to operate from that unknown state. So if I come from anytime I catch myself saying, I know it, I've done this before, I stop. That means I'm going on the wrong path, that I'm going to achieve something from my past and not that new level of awareness or goal setting or achievements that I want to.
Interesting. Really interesting. Tell us about your, and we talked about this offline actually, your, I guess, I don't know if it's a Guinness World Record, which is the 24-hour stationary bike challenge, which I think is in November of this year in 2020. Tell us about that. Why are you doing it? Just out of curiosity. And stationary bike for 24 hours. What are you going to do that? What are you actually going to do for 24 hours apart from just cycle your legs? And yeah, I'm just fascinated.
Pretty much that's what I think. I will have a support team around me as witnesses because it is an official Guinness attempt for a record.
Sure.
But yeah, that's pretty much what I'll be doing. Why I'm doing it, I did attempt it about 4 years ago and failed. So I achieved the time, but not the distance. 2 weeks prior to the Guinness allowing me to do it, they said I needed to cycle 800 kilometers and I hadn't been training enough to merit that distance. So I still did it knowing that I most probably would fail. So it's been on my list of, exploration again. But I'm always curious and looking for things that people haven't done before to remove that glass ceiling of humanity, it's covering what I said earlier. And a lot of problems we face today, we can't solve from our current way of thinking. We need to elevate our consciousness and do things that we've never done before. So no female has ever cycled officially 24 hours on a static bicycle. So I'm doing it to sort of step up from femininity, because male has done this, to say we can too. And what else could you do in your life that we deemed impossible or not having been done before?
It's interesting because I know that we were talking offline around the whole kind of, I know that in athletics, for example, it's a little bit different from triathlon, but why is it that, I guess, and I don't know if this is generally in sport, but I know that certainly in the world of athletics and things like that, and triathlon, why is it that women in general don't get the same opportunities as men in triathlon? I know this is just completely way off par, but I'm a big fan of supporting women and whatever they do and that kind of stuff. Love to know. And I guess you're raising awareness around the whole kind of equality stuff, which I love, by the way. It's fantastic, which is really great. So, I mean, yeah, tell us, I don't know what your thoughts are around that.
I don't know, in short. I've got assumptions, but I'm very mindful to come from an objective point of view, not just sort of fan the fillings of ranting and hearsay. I am working with university lecturers around researching this topic, but I suppose if we just look at our daily, if we all own it as every one of us is responsible. There's the FA Football League, where most of us know at least a dozen male footballer names. There's the equivalent league for females. Does that get the same airtime? Do we actually watch it as much as the men? Do we have a certain unconscious bias running in our head when we think of female footballers versus males? Do we already say, and I say it in my head, I'll put my hand up, they're not as good. They're not as, they're not as dancing. They're not as, graceful on the match, on the pitch. So I think all of us as individuals need to start looking at, what news do we read? Is it the sport of man or the sport of woman? Is it the sport of certain genders, races as well, certain colours that we look towards? So it's not about judging. It's not about, trying to fix it from a sort of a limited point of view. But my personal responsibility is to make sure that I give every equal opportunity for my time and my spending. So I think we're all playing a role in creating this divide. And the sponsors just go where our eyes go. So how can we as individuals start putting our eyes on the females in the sport, or underrepresented, like the Paralympics, for example? That's a huge area, but it doesn't get half as much airtime as Olympics. Because
no, I agree. And it's interesting though. I mean, with regards to, we took like the Paralympics, for example, we had Neil Fashie, actually, who's the double Paralympic champion. And we were talking about it actually, similar in our interview, about the reason why, and it was really kind of more of an offline conversation, which was around, why is it? But actually, if you think about it, really Paralympics has only been around maybe sort of the last 12 years where they've really got some traction. But it's the same for women. It's really taken, same with women's football. It's taking a long time. I think Real Madrid recently created their first women's team. I don't know if you saw that. I think it was like 2 weeks ago. Wow. 2 weeks ago, I think Real Madrid created their first women's team. And then a lot of English football teams have also created some, you've got the Arsenal women's and you've got the Leeds and that kind of stuff. So it's slowly coming, isn't it? And it's kind of frustrating because I'd like to see I like to see more role models, female role models, where you think, oh, do you know what? I think of Kate Strong when I think of triathlon, or I think, do you know what I mean? I would love to see more of that. I think more, and I think that a lot of listeners as well would love to see more about that as well, and which is great. I know that should we say, your journey in terms of your ceiling. Now, you talked about your world record attempt in November of this year, but you've also got a really big attempt in 2022. Talk to us about that, and what I'm actually do you know what? When you spoke to me about this, my brain started ticking, and then as we've gone through the show, I've really beginning to think to myself, do you know what? Maybe I've kind of putting a glass ceiling on myself. I need to kind of up my game a little bit here.
Good, I'm doing my job. Yeah, so the world record this year is actually training for the records in 2 years' time. So there is no female who's ever attempted what I've done. There's no male who's done it to the extreme. I'm attempting it. So it's over a 10-month period. And in short, I'm cycling the world's toughest road race, which is called Race Across America. Starts on the west coast, finishes east coast. It covers 3,000 miles, goes through 3 mountain ranges, including the Rocky Mountains. And I'm attempting to finish it in 7 or 8 days of cycling. 2 months later, it doesn't stop there because I am a triathlete, I love threes. 2 months later, I'm swimming the English Channel, which is again deemed the Everest of channel swims. That's 21 miles. It could take up to 20 hours in 19 degrees centigrade water with just a wetsuit. I don't do well in cold, just to put that in. And a few months after that, so it'll be the next year, but within that 10-month period of April, I'm moving to Nepal, where I'm intending to summit the highest peak in the world, Everest.
Wow, that's amazing. So this is all going to be done in what, a year? Is there a time?
10 months, yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, is there a particular timescale that you have to complete it by?
Being the first ever to do it, I can do it in any time I want, but I've chosen 10 months.
Fair enough. That's very good. You know, I love that. That's fantastic. I think that's great. Listen, if you ever need any support around that, and same for our listeners, if you like to give Kate some support, I know that you're going to be doing some stuff for sponsorship and charity and things. Yeah,
definitely. And I'm looking to inspire other people. So, you know, part of my mission isn't just for people to go, wow, Kate's amazing. I want people to see the greatness in themselves too. So there'll be a lot of adventures and challenges going around to engage people whilst I'm doing my challenge.
Guys, I don't know about you, but it certainly inspired me to take even more action than I already am. But I hope that based on our show today, that it's kind of helped you kind of get some more creative juices flowing, not just in your personal life, but also in your business as well. Because remember, a lot of the tools and tactics and principles that you learn from people like Kate and myself and whatever it is, you can actually take it into your entrepreneurial business, into your personal life. It doesn't matter how you do it, just do it. Take action and and just get off your ass, as I like to say, and it's part of my quotes and things like that. Listen, Kate, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us on the show today. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Adam. Me too.
It's been a good one. And guys, listen, I hope that you've enjoyed today. Was going to say, I will see you back on the next show of the Game Changers Experience. We'll see you soon. Take care. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Hey, you guys, I just want to say thank you so much for listening in to this episode of the Game Changers Experience. I hope that you got some amazing value, some great insights, and golden nuggets that you can implement into your business straight away. I would really, really appreciate it if you could leave a 5-star review on the button below. Have a fantastic day, and we'll see you on the next episode. Take care.